some beautiful looking sourdough bread. And it is so yummy. Good morning guys, how's it going? Just finished breakfast here. Had an omelet with some of my sourdough bread. Made some toast with it. I'm always getting questions about my sourdough. And this one here is, I think it's about 2 years old now. And it continues to go good. It's really easy to look after, really easy to make. I see a lot of things on YouTube and other stuff where, you know, there's this big mystery surrounding sourdough and you gotta look after it every day and do these special preparations with it. It's not true. Here's how I make my sourdough bread. Basically the starter, if you don't have any starter already, mix about 100 grams of flour with 100 grams of water. Stick it outside or even leave it inside for anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. It'll start to bubble. Once it does, you know it's starting to work. You can feed it probably another 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour. I keep doing it in a mason jar. It works really well. And you want to always try and keep probably about halfway for the level. Your second day, give it equal parts flour, equal parts water. Day 3, you can dump some out or use it for something, put it in some pancakes or something. Again, add equal parts water, equal parts flour. Day 4, do the same thing. Always trying to keep the level somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4. Because if it's really active, it will actually bubble up and overflow. So for about a week, you're going to keep doing that. And then you'll have a good starter that is ready to use for your sourdough bread. So if you're taking your sourdough, you've got your starter going. If you feed it every day, it's going to be a lot of money putting flour in to it, water not so bad. So what I do is I try and make my bread on Saturdays or Sundays. The rest of the time, I'll keep this in the fridge. So I'll put it in the fridge and I'll pull it out on a Friday. Usually I'll give it a stir because you'll get a bunch of, it looks like water on the top, and the color will go kind of a grayish. It'll look a bit yucky, but it's all right. Just stir it up. Again, add equal parts flour, equal parts water. Get it stirred up, and then leave it on your counter until the next morning. And by that time, it'll have warmed up enough outside of the fridge, and now it'll be ready to use for your sourdough bread. For that, I'll put this in the description as well, but you can write it down if you've got a pen. For flour, 600 grams of flour, 345 grams of water, 240 grams of starter, and 7.5 grams of salt. I'll usually do the flour, then the salt, then the starter, then the water. The reason I do it that way is because when I weigh out the starter, I can then put the water in, kind of get the starter off the container and get the rest of it into the mixer. And I use a mixer. I don't hand knead. I just leave it in the mixer for a while. When I'm ready to make the bread too, I'll pull it out of the mixer and I'll actually put it on a floured cutting board. And this is where I ran into trouble at first, is I'd make it into a ball, I'd flour my little basket and stick it in there, but then it would rise up and stick to the inside. So what I do is I'll leave it as a ball of flour on my cutting board for probably an hour, hour and a half, maybe longer, and it'll start to expand outwards. And I'll just go around and kind of tuck it under and squish it back up so it's more like a ball. And I'll keep doing that over and over again because that'll actually harden the outside of the bread or the dough. And once you've done that, then you flour your basket and you put your dough in. And it almost creates a crust, so when it starts to expand in the basket, it doesn't stick that bad in the basket. And then once I take that out, I'll leave it to raise for anywhere from 3 to 12 hours, depending on how warm it is and how active the yeast is. I'll then stick it in my big pot, basically the Dutch oven. I'll stick the Dutch oven in the oven, turn it to 375, and let it heat up. So then you pull the Dutch oven out, I'll spray in some cooking spray, take my dough, put it into the Dutch oven, and then put it back into the oven for 45 minutes. And that is basically what you get right there. Some beautiful looking sourdough bread. And it is so yummy, fresh, or the next morning make some toast with it or make some awesome sandwiches with it as well. So that's basically how I do mine. With the starter as well, always after you use it, again, add equal parts water, equal parts flour. And on the top, I either put a cloth, toilet paper, or paper towel. And I actually have a hair elastic around it just to keep that on top. And again, keep it in the fridge for a week so it's not as active. Then pull it out the day before you want to cook bread, give it a stir, give it a little feed, and you're ready to use it. So I hope this helps demystify the whole sourdough bread making. And thanks again, guys, for checking us out. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Talk to you soon.